I know it's only been a day since I posted that last video of Luna Abyss, my 146.06, but we hit the lab, found some new strats, and grinded out a much cleaner time. So here's Luna Abyss, any percent in 135.49, playing on Scout difficulty. Time will start once we actually skip this first dialogue, and we're off to the races, skipping all of this stuff. Here we are in the prison. We're going to be going into the Abyss proper, as things really start to pick up. If you watched the run yesterday, you know the first about 30 minutes or so of the game is pretty unbroken. We're just going to be running through pretty quick, and then once we get kind of into the middle of the game, that's where stuff falls apart. You can go into the options, accessibility, and turn on the enabled traversal skip, which you'll start to see a little bit later on. There are some uses for that. And it helps speed up a couple platforming sections and helps out with a skip. But we pick up a dialogue so we can open up that door. Get our first weapon in the scout rifle. This is our assault rifle, general use weapon. Use it to open doors, get down enemies. You can also see it on the bottom left there. It's going to have a cooldown that we shoot, and it'll start to overheat. And if it overheats, it cools down.
Adjustment here.
So you typically don't want that to happen. That takes quite a while. So we're just going to be traversing through there. These little yellow icons that you see as we run past, that's the traversal skip that we enabled in the menu. For the most part, they are pretty slow to use. They are just a way for people who are having trouble doing all the platforming in this game to get past those points of pain. But to do so, it's not just a free teleport forward, it is a pretty slow cinematic thing, so for the speedrun we're going to be avoiding about 98% of those. So there are a couple that we'll be making use of, but overall, we're just going to be running past them, in case you're wondering what they are. Here we go. Like I said, we don't really have too many tools at our disposal. We just have a single jump, we don't have our dash yet. But we'll be getting that stuff later on. Here's our first arena fight. So we have some enemies we're just getting down. So we're making sure not to overheat the gun. You can also see the bar in the middle of the screen there filling up. Some basic enemies. These are going to be our fodder later on. Just very easy ones to take out and give you health back. We don't have that ability yet, but we will get it near the end of this chapter. We can continue to take these out. Got really close to overheating there with just an enemy and a half left, so just kind of waited for that to go down and then tap fire the rest of the shots out. Turn around up here and grab this. This is one of those traversal spots we actually could make use of it because it helps skip these platform cycles. I was on a very lucky cycle though, so I knew I could just run up and jump on it easy peasy. So we didn't need it in this run, but occasionally you might see that happen. Go up here and talk to this NPC. This is Atticus the Allfather. There's a little spoiler alert. The final boss of the game, we'll be seeing him plenty of times throughout the run and at the very end. Just gonna spam talk to him, turn around because that unlocks a door behind us. We also saw that giant blue crystal there. That is a way to get full health. Just the white bar at the very top of the screen. We only have 8 arena fights in the game, and then we have a handful of boss fights. Other than that, we can pretty much run past any enemy that we see. And because we're running on Scout difficulty, the easiest version, that's not the flat-out story mode where you're invulnerable to attacks. So yeah, here's a bad platforming cycle, so I'm just going to use this traversal skip to get up there. But because we're playing on that easy difficulty, damage is not really a big concern. We can kind of just tank damage, run past it, and hit one of those full healing crystals, because there's quite a few of those in the game, spaced out pretty evenly, so health is not a big problem in this. Just going to run past here. Perfect example of what I was just talking about. We need to run up here to hit a switch that's going to open up a door and allow us to continue. You can't actually hit the switch from down below doing some crazy parkour on some pipes, but it's not really worth it because if you mess up once, you're already losing time and you have to do that with all of the enemies shooting at you, so it's better just to run up, hit that, and continue on. Pick up our full health. We unlock sliding, which is not super useful for the run. So usually if you slide, when you get to the end of it, it takes away all your momentum. So So we really just use it to get under spots where we are forced to crouch. For now, we're just continuing to navigate these simple platforms. Kind of takes a while for things to really progress in this game, but when they do, it's pretty crazy, pretty fast. We're gonna go in here another round of just shooting some enemies to get past them. Then we need to actually kill them, just making sure they're not in the way. Sneaking past this enemy as we just continue to run past. So we can go pick up our second of 4 weapons. This is the shield breaker, the shotgun. It's really good. The most important part is if we see these blue shields, there's walls like this and also blue shields on enemies, we have to use the shield breaker to get past that. Enemies that have blue shields cannot be damaged until you break the shield.
I'll just locate a disconnection point to bring you back.
It does also very quick to overheat, but it does a pretty good amount of damage, so it's a very vital weapon for us, especially early on in combat. We get some stuff from the Allfather here. Luckily, this is a thing that they don't continue to bring back throughout the run. We just have it pop up a few times in the intro, and then it'll stop doing that altogether, which is pretty nice. Another room where we just need to run up the stairs, hit a switch to open up the path forward. So right there, you can see a couple enemies with the blue shield around them. We're not going to take the time to actually break that, but that's what it looks like. And it's just one shot to break it, not much more than that to the mechanic. There's a door with the blue shield around it, and we go into our second arena fight. So this is where we really have to make use of breaking the shield. And continuing to use the scout rifle and get everyone down pretty quick. So shotgun has 3 shots before it overheats from being completely off cooldown. So as shield guys, I tend to use 2 shots and then swap to the scout rifle. The small fodder enemies will die in 1 shot to the shotgun. It's important to note, just in case you want to clear them quickly. Here's our first sort of mini boss, the Celebrant of Manny. This will just become a regular enemy later on, as pretty much every mini boss does. So here you can just see I'm using the scout rifle until the shotgun's off cooldown, 2 shots so it doesn't overheat. And just get the enemy down nice and easy. Unlock the boost pad so we can go up to the top of the room and continue on towards the end of the prologue.
Close one. Celebrants are frightful adrift. Rumor has it they were once the aristocracy of the old colony.
This game loves to make you run through pipes, boost you all the way up, and then have you drop all the way back down. It's a very common theme in this. You have to navigate the world. Very mega structure style for the central areas of the game. Once we get into the more stylistic chapters later on, the level design becomes more intertwined and on itself, which allows for some big skips.
By the way, I have a theory about the disruption. Well, more of an idea.
Now we've climbed all the way up, we're going to be running through here and dropping down to meet some more NPCs.
It sounds like some kind of signal. A malfunctioning warden emitting a distress beacon, maybe. Or it could be something else. This place. I don't remember it being here before.
I'm hoping we can find some more skips for this area, kind of break it open, but as you can see with the mega structure style where it's really sprawled out, even if we could get out of bounds, it'd be very hard to actually save time because we're still just going to have to run across the map anyways. Run past the other set of enemies, take out that guy blocking the door. We don't need to do that. We can actually get to the door behind it, but he just makes it really hard to break the blue shield on the door.
The signal is starting to interfere with my connection. I need you to pick up the pace.
Very cramped hallways and pipes that we need to progress through. Get a slide there. I crouch really far away from this pipe because for whatever reason it is very hard to get into. If you crouch up close, then getting a slide in there is almost impossible.
Something else is going on here.
Go through here and just about at the heart of the
You're
abyss.
breaking up. Run that by me again. I can't can't hear you.
As we're approaching the end of the prologue, there's just going to be some dialogue skipping with our new NPC, Urian.
I'm on my own.
I will say if at any point this looks interesting and you want to help break it and find skips for these areas, there's a speedrunning Discord you can join. I will leave it down in the description. A lot of people actively trying to break this.
I came.
We just had a few more skips found today. If you watched the video yesterday, you're in for some new tech along the way. And maybe tomorrow we'll have 2 new skips and I'll be posting another video then. This is kind of the halfway point of chapter 1. Gonna be getting some very quick abilities at the start of the second part here. Not ones that really help out the run too much, but some interesting implications behind it. So here we have Drift Kill, which is kind of like the glory kill system in Doom, or a lot of FPS games you've probably played in the past couple of years. Enemy gets low HP, you press the button, and you get health back, and they go away. It's pretty simple. Unfortunately, when they're in that glory kill state, they do actually take a little bit extra damage to kill. It kind of prevents you from just killing everything off and not ever dealing with that mechanic. So early on, we just use the drift kill to get the enemies off the map as quickly as possible. So unfortunately our shots are going to take a little too long. So now we can also possess these little watchers and get around a lot of traversal mechanics from here. So we can go from one to the next, boost up. You can also go through grates and walls like that. Lowering this so we can boost up top and use this to climb up the staircase and leave. As is traditional fashion in games, you get a new mechanic and the game's going to give you a little tutorial section for it. We're just going to hit this one, possess some more. Gonna find a hidden switch here. And we need to be a little bit careful with our health here because these pods can do quite a bit of damage and we need to sneak through here. This room has a lot of switches that you have to wait around for and moving platforms. We're just going to take these traversal skip. Nice leisurely cinematic view through this room and into the pipe. That'll be the last one we take for quite a while. So there's one that's very critical for the run later on, and then there's one that kind of just speeds up another section of platforming. So we actually just ran past this section of the game right at the end of that first half of the chapter. But now we're back here with the possession, and we can just zip across here.
What's happened? You, different. Where's your warden?
This section's all about just navigating around, hitting these possessions, twisting and turning around, and eventually
Urian?
leaving out the top of the map.
Let's get you out of there and check you over. There's a disconnection point nearby. You'll need to climb up through warden's...
There's a brief time after you leave the Watcher's possession that you can get a jump off as well, even though we don't have like an actual double jump yet. Not very useful for the run, but some small tech there. That could lead to stuff later on. Also have lasers coming down. We don't really care about the damage they hit us. It's not too big of a deal. But we'll just be getting health at the end of this section anyways. Let's just taking some damage there. So I actually lied. We're taking another traversal because I didn't realize that platform went up. And it's actually slower to do this, I realized while in the midst of this run. Because if I just waited for that platform to come back down, I could have just jumped across much faster than that. So that one probably actually lost me time. But a lot of these I haven't tested out fully. So that was a little mid-run experiment that did not pay off. I will say this run's not completely flawless. There's a hiccup or two along the way,
which
but
means I should be able to bring you back safe.
for an hour and 35-minute run, this is pretty close to being a run I'm happy with putting down until some new stuff's found. We're actually stacking up the glory kill states, because if you use the glory kill mechanic, it will actually trigger it for all of them currently in that state. And when you use the mechanic, it puts away your guns, so you kind of want to group them up. So the downtime on your weapons is as minimal as possible. But they don't stay in that state forever, so you do have to kind of keep an eye on like the first enemy that you put into a glory kill state. Here's our next little mini boss, the Absalom. So you need these quite a bit. They love to teleport around, be real jerks. And this shield comes up about every 2 or 3 times it teleports, so I always want to make sure I have at least a shotgun shot ready to go. I'm just waiting for it to get off cooldown. If his shield's up, I'll pop 2. If it's not up yet, I'll just pop 1. Once he's at 50% HP, he'll teleport away, which he did, and we have this round of minions. That first mini-boss we fought before comes back as a regular enemy. Take them out. The Absalom comes back. Shoot him twice. And just stay in the middle, so if he teleports around, it's pretty quick to get to him in any corner of the room. Easy stuff. Not much to it. And now we can continue towards the elevator. Another friendly NPC. This is Ellie, the elevator. She'll become a train later. It's weird. I don't know how it works, but it does. Just spamming past all the dialogue. It's a real masher's game when it comes to dialogue. The faster you mash spacebar, the faster you can get through those. Yeah, that really wraps up Chapter 1. We're just making our way straight to the end. Not played this game or seen it so far. You can kind of think of this world as like the Matrix, where we're typically in our prison cell, but then we get control of this warden body. So we come into the abyss and we do quest for Aelin. For days off of our prison sentence, and then at the end of each day, or for the games, each chapter, we get pulled back to the prison cell where we have a nice talk, kind of go over stuff, learn some lore, before getting dumped back into the abyss.
Just a little further now.
So at the end of this chapter, we're running out to a terminal point. So once we get kind of into the midst of Chapter 2, things really start to pick up. You get a nice slide through here. We don't have access to dash yet, so if you're in a crouched space, you move really, really slow. Once you have dash, you can actually dash while crouched, which is nice. Yeah, we hit our terminal point. And we're going to be pulled out of the abyss. There's our prison cell. There's Aelin on the wall, the giant snake head. Got some more dialogue. We need to be really sure when the days conclude that we click on the bed and that we're ready to sleep.
Sounds good.
Otherwise, we're stuck in the menu for a little bit longer, or even worse, end up going to the library. Which takes a handful of seconds to back out of. There's also this little unskippable part after each day of sleeping, where it takes another day off accordingly, but yeah, when we have an hour and 35 minutes to sit through, we want these to be as quick as possible. We have a brief glimpse of Aelin, our giant snake body. It's the first and only time they make you sit through this when waking up. Yeah, we're just going to talk to her once again, kind of get our heading for our next adventure back in the abyss. Skip past all of this. So we met with an NPC named Urian, who we're now like kind of tasked with hunting down and killing, but here we are in the King's Reach. It's our central hub area where we can access all of the other chapters. We can do some fun stuff later on once we come back here for the next chapter. But for now, we just need to make our way to the Weeping Meadows. So we're gonna open up the lock for this door,
It won't be easy to get
get it unlocked,
but they may know
and
what
make
the
our way
seal
over
is
to
and how to break
the
it.
entrance.
I'm uploading the Weeping Meadows route to your objective system, Fox. The path
Before we
is
can
an
get to the
old
Weeping
cell
Meadows, we
track,
have to
but it won't
actually
be
like
easy to
run all the way
navigate.
over there, do the megastructure stuff, deal with some NPCs, and then we can start having some fun. So here's Everett and Orion.
Have you?
They're in the Widow mechs. There are different sorts of mechs that will be possessing throughout the way. We already met with the Watchers, which are the things that we could possess and just move around the map. But for now, we have a
I
nice
see you've met my
trip
other
through some
scouts.
pipes.
Everett and Orion? They seem nice. Have you had them long?
They're not pets, Fox.
How many scouts are there anyway?
Nice
Aside
big
from the
slide
three
through
of
here.
us, I mean.
Drop down past some lasers.
Not as many as there used to be.
Turn around so we can go exactly where we need to. Because the opening for the next part is right over here. This game loves to drop you down holes. Luckily, there is no fall damage. We don't have to worry about that at all. Otherwise, this would be a very different run. So at the bottom of this hole is a lovely upgrade. That's double jump. Pretty self-explanatory. You jump, and you can jump again.
Well,
Crazy, right?
quite the little prodigy.
Very handy upgrade.
Really?
We love to see it.
With your progress. This little gift is going to make your journey all the more satisfying.
We're not quite at the point where we can really break things, but double
In
jump
your jump. Breathe
does help
in
out.
that power. Savor it.
Aylin warned me about you.
Another tutorial section where, you know, there's just big gaps you gotta cross.
Forgive her, won't you? She's not quite what she used to be. But she'll soon come around.
Now we get to have a fun slide down
I'm
here.
already tired of waiting for you.
And if you jump off of a slide, you actually get to keep a lot of the momentum, and you get to go flying, which we'll see right about now. Whee! Unfortunately, as soon as you like hit the floor, your momentum resets, so you can't really bunny hop and keep all that speed. It's a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. We can actually use that speed to kind of skip some platforming here and just drop down to the bottom of the map. Don't really need to worry about these little environmental damage things at all, because by the time you activate them, you're already like gone. Just run past them. So you can see how slow crouch moving is. Not great, but luckily we don't have to do it too much. Couple more possessions of the Watchers, and we're gonna run through the train station. It's the part of every run and the part of every video where I'm gonna mention that section reminds me a lot of Liza P. and the City of Krot. I don't know why, but it does. Gonna make use of the slide and just go right under this enemy. Not really much of a time save, but hey, it looks cool, so why not throw it in there? Just blast that fool in the face with the shotgun, just for being in the way. Doesn't he know we have a speedrun to do? So we're just gonna do some platforming. Jump to the right instead of going left, just to save a couple seconds. And we have a little bit of a teaser for our next ability, which is the shield wall. It's this giant white bubble that you see ahead of us. We don't get it right there, but it's what's to come. Just gonna jump up here, get possession off, double jump across, down into the lab. And we're gonna go get our upgrade. Shield wall is mostly supposed to be used for combat. This is a bullet hell game. When there's lots of bullets, you pop the shield and you're immune for 5 seconds with a 30-second cooldown on the shield, which is the icon in the middle of the weapons on the bottom left. So again, we get a little tutorial. We're not really going to use it for combat because we're just going to be running past enemies for the most part, and it does take a couple seconds to pop in the middle of a fight, so unless we're really close to dying or dealing with a boss, it's not worth using. We, however, will be using it for its movement abilities, which sounds crazy considering it's a shield wall that you can just put up, but you'll see what I mean soon enough. So 25 minutes in, we have made our way over to the Weeping Meadows, where the run really starts. If this run ever has a no intro category, it will probably start right there. So we can level select right to that spot and to bypass the first 25 minutes. But the run's still new. The game has been out for less than a week at this point. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get sped up. Let's press this, hit our 2 switches, which opens the door. We have a few of these doors to interact with throughout the game. We'll have another one right up here. Just press the button, hit the switches, and the door opens. So here's where our first skip's really gonna kick off. We need to jump into this corner, which is a little slightly less than 90 degrees, and we can kind of get stuck on the collision, and we can just jump up. Unfortunately, the game really did not like me for this first climb that we had to do. It kept shooting me a little bit too high into the corner, so I couldn't do this jump back. And then, we get a little bit stuck on the next one as well, but we're just going to use that to climb up higher on this terrain. We're going to jump, double jump, and pop the shield bubble, which allows us to get a triple jump off, actually. So yeah, I'm just trying to jump up here with that corner climbing mechanic, but it is just not letting me go. Just holding on to my feet for dear life. And we finally pop out. So now we're actually outside the playable space. You're not supposed to be able to get here. This is out of bounds territory. And we can just navigate on top of the map here. Got a little bit too momentum to the side. And we can take a shortcut across the top of the map and drop back in after like a forced arena fight and some puzzling and some platforming. Not the biggest time save, but once we drop down here, we're actually not done breaking the game. This is one of the newer skips. This is one I actually found on stream today. Way to kind of shortcut the city where the dash mechanic is. Don't worry, we'll be getting dashes. Very useful. We don't want to skip that. But we're going to jump over here into this corner out of bounds. We're going to jump over here, which is actually behind an invisible wall. And we're going to jump, double jump, bubble jump to get over here. And we can corner climb on this pipe. And we can jump over here and corner climb right here. There's actually an invisible wall, like, to my right. So we're using the collision on the left with the invisible wall on the right to just climb up this corner. This can be a little tricky here once we get up to, like, this flat wall. So I actually go ahead and I pop the bubble just to get a little bit higher because the bottom part's the tricky bit. So bubble jump up past that and get stuck in the wall. And we jump up, and I'm being careful once I get towards the top here because I need to jump on top of the invisible wall just to my right. So there we go, we land on top of it, and we jump behind me. Gets us even further out of bounds. And now we're going for a little bit of a trip. If you watched my run that I posted yesterday, the 146.06, you'll know we had a little bit of a mech skip after getting dash. This is essentially going to go to the same spot, but we don't have dash at the moment, so it's a little bit trickier to actually pull off. But we're just going to be navigating out of bounds here to that same sort of area. Stuck here, go through this collision that's not actually there. Jump up top. And now this whole skip, this is the trickiest bit. Not this jump, this next jump. So we need to jump around the corner, double jump and bubble jump right here and not slide off. We got it, which is really nice. Unfortunately, there's a very big lack of air control in this game, so if you are double jumping, you're not really going to be able to like do a U-turn of any sort. Even going like 90 degrees left or right is pretty difficult. But here I'm just waiting for that shield to go down. By the time we get over here, it's about 15 seconds on cooldown. I'm going to use that to jump out further here. I'm going to jump out. Big double jump. Pop the bubble jump. And get on top of the invisible wall that's right here. I'm looking down so I know where I am because I don't want to fall off. I'm going to follow this around, curve it in. And we can just jump over here on top of the building. With that, we can jump behind this door that you're supposed to have a giant mech to break down. And off we go. So there's quite a few things that we skip. We skipped the city, getting the dash upgrade, and the mech possession upgrade. But the game just kind of assumes that we have those. It's a very nice trend that the game has. It's like, oh, you got past that one tutorial section where you're supposed to have the upgrade. Well, I guess you just have the upgrade. So, well, we don't have dash yet. Once we get past here, you get into the next loading screen, the game will actually just give us dash, which is really nice. Otherwise, that skip wouldn't be worth it because we need dash for pretty much everything else in the run, and it just speeds up movement overall anyways, so very vital to have. So as soon as we go through this door, for whatever reason, dash is back. We're going to use it there. Big burst of speed. You can air dash as well. It's not just a ground-based thing. In fact, it's typically better to do it in the air so you get more momentum.
Interesting. Sounds like we have
Now we can cover a lot of ground horizontally. You can see I just kind of skip out one of these possessions.
You get through this in one piece.
Just jump up, dash, and then we can double jump, and if needed, bubble jump. Across a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, all of this doesn't really give us a lot of vertical height, which we kind of need later on for certain skips to potentially work. It's the one thing we're really missing in terms of the speedrun, which is why the corner climbs that we do have really opened up skips in this game. Because that's allowing us to get all of that verticality that we're missing from just general movement mechanics. But we're just going to get over here and get the lance rifle. Super powerful weapon. Much like the shield breaker and the blue shields, this one's about purple. So if you see purple enemies, you gotta break the shield with the lance rifle. But it only has 2 shots currently before it goes into an overheat state. So you don't want to be spamming it. So I also tried out a little bit of a new thing in this run, which is a little daring, but I kind of figured it'd work. Jumping off the right instead of running all the way down to the left. You can see all the dash movement at play here. And really cross big gaps. Use to get past enemies here. And we need to take out these 2 purple enemies to open up the next door. Fortunately, these guys are completely invulnerable at certain points, because the purple does not stay up forever. You can see it's just currently gray on waiting. So we really have to time that well. And then we're going to jump in here to get the mech. This is another upgrade that we skipped, but the game just assumes that we got it. There is a skip for this that involves corner climbing next to the door. But I don't know if it really saves that much time if you get a perfect corner climb. And if you don't get a perfect climb, it probably isn't saving any time at all, if not losing time. So I don't go forward here. But there is a little bit of a trick that could be used there. Some potential time save in a perfect situation, but with that out of the way, we can go up here towards the first big boss arena. So we've had sort of mini bosses.
I know next to nothing about this.
The big bosses are at the end of the chapters.
That's comforting.
Lovely green coloring through here. One of my favorite areas just for that visually.
That's just how it is.
You think I don't know that?
So now we have the lance rifle. Our typical damage rotation is to always have the lance rifle, or the shield breaker shotgun out when we can. Throw on cooldown, switch to the scout rifle, temporarily get a couple shots in, and then just go back to using those two weapons.
I'll wave you like a flag.
So every boss has different stages. Once you get down to 75% HP, 50% HP, and 25% HP, other stuff will happen. So we're just looking for that big 75% HP mark here at the beginning. So just using the lance rifle and shotgun off cooldown. Keeping an eye on the bottom left. So now he's invulnerable, we can't damage him. We need to hit these 3 switches around the room. Pretty simple. Go back to damaging him. Looking for that 50% HP on the bottom there. Stashing around the room so we don't take damage. Not really too big of a deal here. Pretty simple boss. So 50% HP is going to go invulnerable again. Summon some minions. These little things just blow up when you kill them, or if they get too close to you, and they can blow up each other, which is pretty nice. So another round of just getting everything in the glory kill states and getting them off at once. And with them dead, we need to hit 3 more switches, but each one's guarded by a blue shield, so we need to dash around the room because the shotgun currently has very little range. Get very close. Back to the boss. Getting him down. We actually have a very easy notification of 25% HP because it goes to a red bar. And for this one, there are 3 more switches, but they are guarded by purple enemies. They spawn in one at a time. So just use 2 shots, get a glory kill state, get him out of the arena, and the weapon's typically off cooldown by the time the next one spawns in. And the switch is always just right behind the enemy. So there we go, and it's just a rush to kill off the boss from here. Big red flash means the boss is dead. We've completed chapter 2. But to get pulled back out to the prison itself, we need to wait for this red orb to spawn in. It always spawns in the same place, which is basically opposite from where you enter the boss arena. So we're waiting right here for it. And then once we pick it up, we have a little bit of an unskippable cutscene, some dialogue with an NPC, and then we'll get pulled back out to the prison. This is really where you get lore for previous characters that are no longer in the story, some flashbacks, stuff like that. This game has some pretty cool lore that we are skipping more and more of every day. So if you want to experience it yourself, I highly recommend going and picking up this game. It's only like 25 bucks regular price. I think it's also in Game Pass currently.
I'm sorry,
If you want it a little bit cheaper. But overall, it's pretty cool. Just gonna skip past these flashbacks, all of this dialogue. Spamming through it because we don't currently care. The options don't matter. It doesn't matter what you pick. There's only one ending, and the choices don't matter as long as you progress through the game. You're back with Aelin, spamming through this, and then once we get to the end, making sure we don't spam too quick so we can just go to bed as quickly as possible. And we'll be heading into chapter 3. This is where King's Reach becomes a little bit more interesting. That's back in the hub world. You can access the different chapters. So the game doesn't always load in all of the chapters, so we can't skip ahead past chapter 3. The triggers for chapter 4 and 5 don't exist there yet, but what does exist are the weapon upgrades. It's in the hub. Every time you come back, you kind of have access to the next upgrade. So when you go into chapter 3, we should be getting the scout rifle upgrade. Come back from chapter 3, you get the shotgun upgrade. Come back from chapter 4, get the rifle upgrade, but you'll see we're going to shortcut that a little bit. So I always have a soft lock here. I don't know why, but reloading the level prevents it. So just do that real quick. We're going to jump down here because we beat up the first boss. We have the first seal, so we can plug that into the door. Chapter 3 will get us the other seal, so we can open that door and get to the train.
The sigils were connected. How interesting. The seal
So with that seal in place, we can come up here and talk to Atticus.
It's not a place.
is your...
I didn't think.
Spam through his dialogue. And he will open up a little door that holds a switch that we need to go shoot, which will open up chapter 3. While we do that, we're going to jump over here and get our scout rifle upgrade. We're going to open up the shotgun upgrade, which is just across the path. Typically, you need a blue platform ability to get over there. But it's another one that we'll be skipping, except we're not even supposed to have access to it at this point in the game. So we're just going to jump on this tree's collision. And we're going to try to jump on top of this light. It's very hard to stand there, so I actually don't quite make it on the first attempt. And we're going to wait for the bubble cooldown yet again. So it's 30 seconds lost, because we have to wait here. But there's not really a better way of getting over there currently without having to wait for the bubble. We're just sitting there staring at the upgrade, just hoping it'll fly over to us, but it doesn't. It's off cooldown, we're going for it again. Pop it a little higher this time, get on top of the light, double jump across with a dash. There's Shield Breaker Mark II. The weapon upgrades typically will give you more damage, more shots before cooldown, or a faster cooldown overall, so they are very worthwhile to get. We're going to be going for the Lancer Rifle upgrade, which, like I said, we're not supposed to get until the end of Chapter 4 when we come back here with grappling. This is a pretty major sequence break in terms of the combat mechanics of the game. Sprint off here, jump, dash, double jump, pop the bubble really high so we get over this fence. Go get our upgrade. It does seem like a long time to sit there and wait for the bubble to come off cooldown for those, but those weapons are so useful in terms of damage. Having more shots before they're on cooldown and just being able to spam those a little bit more really helps out with the combat, especially the boss fights that we'll be getting into. Now Chapter 3 is open, and we have to traverse some more megastructure stuff before we actually get there. But we're heading towards the Drift Mines. Actually got way too much speed off of that slope and smacked my head into the bricks. And I did not have a dash, so I just fell into the void. But second try, we got there.
That wave is a very strange person.
I can really just put dash to the works.
Assumed you knew him.
Also, all this. These blue platforms disappear after so long. You'll see them turn red and then they'll disappear. Typically, we don't need to worry about that, because we can just move so fast horizontally that even if they disappear, we can cross the gap without it. But it's just something to keep in mind. So we do take a bit of damage, and you'll see that my health has gone red. So where that's at now, that the game will actually auto-regen our health back up to that amount. So if we take more damage, it's not too big of a deal as long as we don't die. More blue platforms, run past. I also know that there is a full health waiting for us at the bottom of this, so not too worried. We're on an invisible slide, so we can't just drop straight down and soft lock, or can we just like get out of bounds and do some crazy stuff there. This game is pretty locked down with invisible walls and void out zones just about everywhere, especially in the late game. Here we're just gonna run past some enemies and do some more platforming. So we're going to bypass a little bit of the intended mechanics by just jumping over to this watcher. Dash through here. You can see the platforms are going away, but we just pop the bubble, make it over there easy peasy. These like pink magenta shield barriers that I'm dashing through, or a tutorial that we actually bypassed by doing the Weeping Meadow skip. Once you pick up dash, they start giving that to you. But you have to have dash speed to actually pass through those, so you gotta make sure you time your movement correctly. You can't just run through them or double jump through them. Another big fall past some lasers here. You notice I'm not even really trying to dodge them because you just kind of happen to do that anyways. Or I just get extremely lucky. But yeah, even if they do hit you, it's not Not gonna do too much. And with a couple dashes and a couple possessions, we will be down into the drift mines, another fun area that is really spread out, really enticing to try to skip for that reason, but yeah, as I mentioned, this game is littered with invisible walls and void out zones. We do have some skips here, but nothing too crazy. Once we get into the drift mines by jumping down here, I'm actually going to take just a second to run forward, get an autosave and full health, just for safety. We can back up and start climbing this pile of rocks, making sure to jump in spots that are not going to slide us back down. And we can double jump, pop a bubble to get up here. We're not supposed to, slip through a hole in collision, get on top of the map, and boost way over here, where we can progress through some more collision. These textures don't stop us. And we can pop out right over here, past another ability. We get past some lasers. But you can see the blue floating orbs. That is another mechanic that you're supposed to get, where you hit use on those and it creates platforms for a temporary amount of time. We're going to bypass that for now. Dash over here. Make sure I dash speed to get through this. We're just having to navigate all of this without those blue platforms because this is still considered the tutorial. So once we get past this, the game will once again assume we have that. So once we get past here, using more dash jumps, we're pretty much good to go. I tried to hit possession, but for whatever reason, the game just locked onto one of the blue platforms floating and didn't let me possess it, so I fall down, get it on the second try, and we can jump off of this platform, get over on top of this metal railing, which is completely unintended. It's actually skipping an entire boss fight where you get another mechanic that lets you take possession of these little twin mechs, as they're called. Which lets you ride on the rails. We'll be seeing those here in just a second. My health is a little bit low from doing all that, so just get a little safety health off that enemy. See an orb come flying past me. Fun little moment there. And because the game once again assumes that we have the twin possession upgrade from beating a boss that we did not beat, we can just go ahead and possess that one. We don't get to sit back and relax on these rails. It makes us kind of hop between them every so often so that we don't die. It's a very unfortunate thing that we skipped the first possession ride because it's by far the most cinematic and really the only time it's cool to be on these rails. But this is why the level is so spread out, because they introduced this rail mechanic, which puts the platforms and the areas we need to be in very far apart. And because I was just lazy here, this doesn't really save much time. But there's also a floating enemy right in front of this pipe. I just decided to go ahead and take the traversal skip. It's about the same speed to just run across those platforms. I go for a little bit of a cheeky jump here, but I popped the bubble too late. So I'm just gonna have to take the stairs. The game intends. I just try to find this door. It's incredibly hard to see when there's all that enemy fire in your face.
Freedom than you realize, little prisoner.
Make our way down the building.
Don't let them lie to you the way they lied to me.
I'm gonna go into this fight. But I do have some health issues, so I need to be a little aware of that. Go ahead and just get health off these purple enemies. It's using 2 purple shots with the rifle will pretty much always guarantee that they're in the glory kill state. Back up to nearly full health, it's good enough for me. Continuing to take out enemies. You'll notice I'll almost always focus the purple enemies first because their shields are kind of timed. I want to make sure I get that down as soon as possible. The blue ones are not timed, so I can just pop those whenever I want. There's also a mechanic I use right there for the first time that we bypass as well, which is an extension of the glory kill mechanic. So if you just simply tap the button, which mine's bound to R, that's why I see it pop up there, it will just give me health and get rid of the enemy. If you hold down that button, instead of giving you health, it will turn that enemy in kind of a bomb fashion where it shoots out a whole bunch of spikes to nearby enemies and it can damage them. Sometimes it'll break the shields of enemies, but it's not always guaranteed. Overall, not super useful this run. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but every now and then I will opt to use that instead of just taking the health. Another fun ride on the twins here. And speaking of interactions, if you see the W pop up, some people like to ask, why is that my interact button? It's because I play with ESDF for my movement. As to why, it's just what I find more comfortable. It's what I've been doing for 15 years. I'm gonna pop these 6 shots real quick. Very fun door to open.
Go away. Let me rest.
So I'm just gonna bypass these blue platforms. The blue platforms, unfortunately, are like really oddly spaced for going fast, so we don't like to use those. Just using double jump and dash to skip more of these possession stuff. And this is a rail that we don't need to actually swap between rails, so we'll get a little bit of a break here.
Why would I want to do that?
Although this run is 1 hour and 35 minutes now, there's not a whole lot of downtime to get some water, stretch your arms or something like that, so being right about the 51-minute mark, it's a nice little break. We do hear Urian yapping in our ears. He loves to complain. He's afraid that the Allfather is going to send people to kill him, including us, which, you know, he has the right to be because that's what ends up happening. But
I'm just doing my job.
we're just trying to go fast here, man. The rails at the end of the station, we are into the second boss chamber. It has the exact same layout as the first one, although some of the movement mechanics are a little changed, like the possessions and stuff.
I'm sure he'll reduce your sentence as a reward. You've done exceptionally well.
Why disturb me after all this time? I've done nothing wrong.
I use these platforms here. I take this very slowly, so we don't have a lot of verticality, so I'm not trying to shortcut this at all.
Shifting. It has been for decades.
And we're going into the second boss chamber.
Want to hurt you, but I will.
My least favorite boss casually and for the speedrun. It's a giant room, and there's 4 platforms on the cardinal directions. And once we get them down to 75% HP, we're going to need a cutscene, and we're going to reset back to where we spawned in. And there's going to be a button we need to hit on the platform directly opposite of us. So let's say we enter on the south end of the room, and we need to head to the northern platform. But all the blue platforms go away, and we have to make use of the mechanical blue platforms that we get. And once again, they're just spaced out just enough to really slow us down here. But we hit our button, despawns all the additional minions, and we can go back to fighting the enemy. Once the boss gets down to 50% HP, the buttons on the west and east side of the room will spawn in. So I'm making sure I head over to one of those, press it, and now we need to run to the other side of the map. Doesn't matter which of the 2 you hit first, just gotta hit both. Just making sure I don't need to worry about my health, killing some enemies along the way. Those 2 buttons. And back to the boss we go. At 25% HP, the north, west, and east platforms will have buttons we need to interact with, so we're just kind of camping by this one. You'll notice I'm not standing on the platforms. The boss will actually like do a big attack on the platforms if you stand there for too long, so I try to make sure I'm on the blue platforms that despawn in between the button pressing. And with all those done, we just nuke down the boss using the Shieldbreaker shotgun and the Lance rifle. Kill them off right there. And then the red orb that we're waiting for will spawn on the northern platform, directly opposite of where we spawned in from. Here's me just being a little impatient, just mash spamming through the items on my mouse wheel. So we get the orb, get some more lore. This will be pulling us out of the abyss, back to our prison cell, back to Aelin. We'll be moving on to chapter 4, which has also had one of the bigger skips found between this run and the one yesterday.
Back to where? I wasn't sent. Please, I'm sorry.
Some quick dialogue spam. Past the flashback.
It wasn't your fault. I wish I knew.
Maybe.
And back to the prison we go.
Someone. How did she? Who?
Making sure to be a little safe on clicking on going to bed. Just saving myself from the headache of clicking on the wrong thing. Took off yet another day. We still have 8,800 to go. Quite a few years that will be sitting in this prison.
Ah, Fox. Along with one.
But don't worry, we have a plan of getting out.
Anyway, are we?
Maybe a little bit early.
Would you like to connect?
So with all that out of the way, we can come down here to the train station. Pop in the second seal that we got from that last boss. And we can access the train. If you remember Ellie, the elevator from before, I mentioned she becomes a train. Here she is. Once again, don't know how she became a train, but yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of a dialogue with her before she drops us off just a little bit closer to the city of Greymont. Another one of my favorite areas in the game. Very cool aesthetics, very cool mechanic in the grappling. But also the most broken level, up there with the Weeping Meadows. So just needed to traverse into the city proper. A pretty quick trip across.
I get there when I get there. You're on my time now.
Careful not to hit this light, it loves to throw you into the void there if you're going too fast.
Caged his own friends up and threw away the key. We're not dealing with a
Boost through here. A big chain of possessions, taking us higher up into the map.
He always was hideous.
Boosting up further.
Listen, you're here now. The rest is
Boosting up even further. Got a little confused there. Don't mind me. And once you boost all the way up in the map, there's only one thing left to do, which is to jump all the way back down. So here we go.
Get moving.
I never thought I'd see the day when the train started running again.
Couldn't you have sent a scout to do it?
So the City of Greymont features one of the hardest skips, one of the biggest by just immediately going out of
See,
bounds.
that's what I find so strange.
And jump down to this platform. Instead of continuing to jump down the platforms, we're going to just do a huge boost across here.
Wow.
Delay the double jump long enough so we get stuck in this pipe, or between the pipes,
I suppose it is rather similar.
and we can climb up.
It must make you homesick.
Get a great look at the castle and cathedral there in the background, very vampiric. No vampires are actually there, unfortunately. But once we get up here, we can jump off around this corner. Make sure to go far enough out that we don't actually hit some of the invisible collision. Jump and we can hit the side of this pipe, so we slide up on top.
Got a job to do.
And
So
we're
let's
going
get it
to
done.
jump over here with a bubble jump to hit a certain spot that resets our movement mechanics. So it gives us an extra dash and an extra double jump, so we can get to this window and then we just crouch. That clips us back through. And here we get to use the traversal skip to bypass here. So we actually skip pretty much the entire level. This gets us up to the boss of the city of Greymont. We'll also be skipping here in a second, but because we don't have grappling, we can't actually progress any further, which is why we use the traversal skip right there. And once we get past here, the game will just consider us to have grapple, so we don't need it for the end game. So we're going to do another corner climb. This one's a little bit strange. We have to make sure we jump back before we do our double jump back forward. I'm just going to slowly but steadily climb up here. Continue boosting until we get right to the top, which is right here. So I'm gonna make sure I sprint forward so I get a jump speed out, double jump, and boost back around the corner. By using double jump, we can get over here underneath the boss chamber, and we can jump down here. So the City of Greymont's a little bit different in its boss structure, that the boss, when it drops a red orb, doesn't kick you back out to the prison. There's actually some extra lore that we need to deal with. So this whole hidden chamber beneath the boss that we can get down to. Hit the loading screen so we load it in. We're gonna boost way over here. A lot of horizontal distance that we need to cover. We're gonna go kind of towards the corner so that when we drop back in, we can actually get into the room below. Just gonna hold forward and then slide underneath this wall. And once we go a little bit more forward, we're gonna hit like an invisible ceiling. And from here, I'm gonna boost back into the middle of the room. You kind of see that glowing door orb over there on the just the right of the cursor. It's essentially where we need to be, but I need to drop in, hit a switch real quick. Yeah, because all this exists down here, we can actually skip this boss fight. And a whole bunch of additional lore with Aylin and how she came to be. And instead, we just get to run up, spam through some dialogue, and end the City of Greymont Chapter 4 split pretty quickly. There's Aylin on the dead throne. This is where Atticus is revealed to be the Allfather, the big bad of the game. And we're just gonna just spam through this as quickly as possible, absolutely mashing the spacebar. Might need a new keyboard after running this a few more times.
Turn and turn again, and we too shall turn.
And going through that dialogue will kick us back out to the prison at this point, and we can go into Chapter 5, the Hanging Towers. So now that we know that Atticus is the big bad of the game,
To where?
the final boss, the only thing standing in our way is another boss named Manny, who's the one that gave him all of the power that he now possesses. So we need to go deal with Manny first, and then we can go fight Atticus afterwards. Unfortunately for us, when we get into Chapter 5, the Hanging Towers,
Leave me alone.
there's a very big problem for trying to break it. And that is the fact that you basically are climbing up towers the entire time. And we already talked about the lack of verticality that we possess, so trying to skip anything here is pretty difficult. Even trying to put corner climbing to the test, just the level layouts itself does not really help us out. But hopefully we can find something here soon. What this boils down to is about another 25 to 30 minutes of just running through the map as quickly as possible, dealing with a couple of arena fights, and then the boss fight at the end. We're just dealing with Aylin.
Would you like to connect to the...
I'm ready.
Nothing too special going on here. Back in King's Reach, we need to use our grapple ability that we definitely got in the City of Greymont. Hit these two switches and open up the door. So I mentioned before, we can't actually like skip chapters using King's Reach. The switch to opening this section here is always there. We can go and hit those two door switches. Those hanging platforms and this pipe are not accessible. The platforms just don't exist, and the pipe is completely sealed off, so No luck in terms of skipping up to Chapter 5 early. We're traversing more megastructure stuff with our grapple hook in tow. We're going to go ahead and pop this traversal skip here. So waiting for all these platforms takes a very long time and is pretty slow overall. Now we're past that, we're just going to continue dashing as much as possible.
The copies you found yesterday.
Luckily there's no stamina bar in this game at all, we don't have to worry about running out of that. There's a slight cooldown on just dashing on solid ground, about half a second, maybe a full second. You can see I'm just spamming it as much as possible. In the air, you're limited to one dash.
Do you remember what it was like, being a god?
No, all of that is gone now.
Well, that's typically more than enough.
A very long time ago. I would like to remember.
It's more fun enemies to run past. The grapple's actually really nice for movement. Typically you can hit it from much further away than you probably should be able to, which allows us to just kind of bypass landing on certain platforms and taking it slow. We can just boost around, double jump, and hit grapples and chain them together. I do really enjoy the movement through here, even though we can't skip anything as of yet. It is fun just to move around the world. There's another NPC that we don't actually need to talk to. This is kind of Urian's replacement. Kind of his friend as well. Sylvan, I believe his name is. Pops up a couple of times and we're just going to run past him each and every time he does, so
Imposing, isn't
hopefully you're not too pressed about that.
The pillar of ash was once a grave punishment.
A very small sequence break here using the grapple. Instead of running through this next building, we can just go straight up. So it kind of loops back on itself. We can just shortcut that. Get up here to the next tower and start our ascent. Not locked in any combat here, so just running past them. Plenty of health to be gotten if needed, but we're gonna drop down here and get our fourth and final weapon, the Atom Splitter. Essentially a lock-on rocket launcher. So you're gonna lock it on to multiple things, use it for opening doors. It typically have 3 switches, or just a whole room of enemies. It has a very lengthy cooldown that doesn't work for switches, so you can notice how fast it goes down there. If it ever hits an enemy, and you're considered in combat, it will be a much, much longer cooldown. Try to hit the switches for the next door down here, try to get a little fancy with the movement. Skip a platform or two. Continue to boost up. It's a room that sort of seems like you're locked into combat, but you're actually not. You just need to get across these platforms and shield break this, possess the Watcher through the wall, and you can run up to where you're actually locked into combat. So now I actually have the Atom Splitter rocket launcher. The game kind of likes to beat you into using it by giving you big waves of enemies like this. Like, oh, there's a lot of enemies on screen, you should use it. But I find it's typically best to save it for the Seraphs or the Wardens that spawn in. So here I just gotta make use of the Glory Kill mechanic and turning the enemies into bombs. Rid off all the other ones. I think I probably could have actually used it there for that, but I'm not 100% familiar with the spawns on these late fights. I just opt to get them down via the shotgun and the rifle. Another big wave of kind of basic enemies. So back in the mines, there was a boss that we skipped that also introduced these guys that are shooting mortars around. We didn't talk about them at all, but yeah, they have a lot of health. They shoot down a mortar that has a damaging field. Not super scary, but it's our first look at the Atom Splitter in action. Does quite a bit of damage. Nothing crazy, but a good chunk on those bigger enemies for sure. So we go past that forced combat arena. And we're just gonna progress up the tower. There's another spot that has a lot of like moving platforms. It kind of becomes a trend at this point in the game to slow down the player, make them wait, so I just play it a little bit safe. Get around that corner, boost all the way up here. And we need to do all of that so we can hit a switch in this wall. It's going to put a pad on the floor that we can boost up with. Get up to this crazy staircase of a pipe. Lots of enemies in this section. A lot of stuff going on. Let's use the Atom Splitter to take out some of them. Let's gotta have our way so we can grapple up here. And try not to fall off any of these pipes. Bubble just in case I didn't make that. Don't want to fall back down. And up the tower we go. Kind of in the ascent mode. We will not be falling back down anytime soon, but soon enough we'll be going more horizontally. Skipping some platform segments, but another little forced fight. So break the shield, use the Atom Splitter, get the other enemies down. Fortunately, the Atom Splitter actually didn't connect with this enemy because he was just teleporting around. They just love to do. It's quite annoying. Once we get down, these remaining enemies right here. I'm gonna open the door so we can use the Atom Splitter to put another boost pad on the floor. And this is skyrocketing up here. I'm looking for the door. There it is. One little time through a loading screen, and now we have a more horizontal journey ahead of us. Unfortunately, yet again, this area is coated with invisible walls and void out planes, so not much we can do to speed this up. But we're gonna get on this rail line real quick. There's just a short while over here. We can cut out a couple of rooms of platforming by just jumping back out the way we came in. Possess this onto another rail line. Another one where we have to jump between the rails to not die.
In your desperation, you believe them.
Now a whole bunch of grapple platforming.
And now you're offering me advice?
Just commentary.
We do have a quick little chat
What do you know?
with Everett and Orion.
There's no
The spiders that we met before chapter 2. They're kind of journeying with us up here on the towers. We've seen them a couple more times.
Remember that.
Just gonna try to make our way past these enemies, find the exit. All the visual clutter. Big jump over here. Trying to see if the blue platforms are gonna despawn, if I need to play it safe or not, but got there just in time. Make sure we don't hit this fan on our jump out here. Skipping a handful more platforms, nothing too big. Some small optimizations. For whatever reason that shield didn't break, but you know, shoot it again. Breaks the second time. Another forced arena here. It's one that I decided not to actually use the atom splitter for it, so it kind of baits you into using it, so you don't use it on the bigger enemies. But I sort of remembered what was coming up in this fight at the last second, and was like, no, I'm just gonna wait. So we're gonna get these two shielded down and use the atom splitter here. Get way more damage in. Stop them from teleporting. Got a couple small guys. If you can group these up, it's better because one will explode all of the others. But you don't want to waste too much time and trying to group them up. It's not worth it. These enemies do always spawn in the same place, which is pretty nice. You're trying to learn the combat encounters. There's another one that kind of baits you in using the atom splitter. We don't take it. We're just going to wait for this big wave, which is the last one. Pop the shields off. Use the atom splitter and finish off the enemies real quick. Perfectly works out to execute the last two.
But he knows we're coming. He's half the god he was.
Now, there's not too much more combat, but there's a lot of platforming ahead of us.
Still half a god more than
It's actually a little absurd.
You.
She can't hear me. She's quite powerless.
Let's save up the platforms.
Dirty work for her.
Small skip here. Boosting across to
Whatever he's
this.
saying is all lies. You can't trust him.
She sounds desperate, doesn't she?
Going into our last combat encounter with the Mother's Eyes. With these enemies in particular, at this point in the game, it seems like snipers don't really work if you spam like 2 shots, like right after each other. So notice when those ever pop up on screen, I break their shield. I use the sniper once, shotgun twice, and then sniper to finish them off. And that seems to be pretty consistent. Same for these purple bubbles. You can see right there, the damage doesn't actually go through. So instead I switch to the shotgun for a couple of rounds. And I'll finish off with the sniper at the end. Right here's another wave that kind of baits you into using the atom splitter. I want to keep it for the final wave. A lot of fodder in this fight. I noticed I was a little low on health, so I just decided to then use these enemies to get that back. Here's a spot where I group them up real quick. But overall, not the craziest thing to do. Very small optimization. So I'm gonna kill them off. Use the atom splitter. Get this guy down. This teleports like crazy. I'm now realizing I've said crazy way too many times during this commentary. I will try to refrain from doing that for the rest of it. Let's find a different word to use, shall we? Here is the possession for the widow spider things. Nothing too wild about this. You just have to use your sticky hand to traverse the platforms. That's really all there is to this. Unfortunately. A little nauseating when you go fast because of all the camera turning. Luckily it's not in VR.
I've been pinging between
And you
giant
don't
eyes
ever have to
like
really
a
go
pinball this whole
too
time.
far. It's just
This is
take a
much
couple
nicer.
steps, grab, grab, take a couple steps, grab.
How do you decide who ends up in what warden?
We're just going to be
Is
using
it just a
those
matter of
along
what's
with
available at the time?
grappling hook and all of our movement to
The abyss decides
get from
which
tower to
warden
tower
you'll
here.
live in.
Taking a break from climbing them to just
Based on what?
traversing between the two. We do unfortunately have to wait for this little cart to come back. We're not on a good cycle this time around. And we can only depossess these when we're in those blue fields, if you're wondering why we can't just get out of it early. Otherwise, it would be kind of nice. So we could just like get into them and then get out instantly. But yeah, we do have to traverse with them for the time being. Possess across, depossess. So we're going to be running right past Everett and Orion here. This time we're not forced into a dialogue tree with them. We can just keep running past. That we are completely out of combat arenas. We just have a lot of traversing the map. And then we'll have the final boss of this chapter, which is Manny. Which is like the other big final bosses of the other chapters. And then we'll be going into the end game. Or we're going after Atticus the Allfather. So we need to break that shield so we can open this door with the Atom Splitter. Pretty simple puzzle overall. Boosting around in the time of our lives. Just gonna skip all of these platforms. A nice little slide. Unfortunately, don't really actually want to keep momentum off of that one because the exit's right there. I'm the boost all the way across this gap. I don't know why these platforms are just hanging out here in the middle of the sky, but they are. You could safely assume that if you can get to these widows to possess without the upgrade from before, you could probably do so. The game more than likely assumes you have it and will let you do it. So there is some potential for some skips. Maybe get past some of those encounters along the way. But only time will tell. Boosting way up this tower. Another boost here. Through this pipe for just a little bit before we enter the final platforming segment.
Something isn't right.
Grab one more traversal skip. It's another one just because I'm lazy. Don't feel like opening the door and dealing with the blue platforms.
I know my brother.
Not really any sort of time save.
What is he planning?
Got a little stuck on those pipes, but it's fine. We're just gonna boost out here. I'm gonna start climbing this tower. There's a lot of stuff on this tower that looks like you could potentially skip it, but the devs have really locked it down and made it bulletproof for speedrunners. I'm really hoping we can find some sort of way to do it, because it is waiting for a lot of these platforms to get out of the way. Every time I try to go fast here, I end up just getting reset back to the previous checkpoint. So just taking my sweet time. So I know at this point in the run I've not messed up too much. So I had to wait for one bubble in King's Reach, getting all the weapon upgrades. A couple small little things go wrong, but overall, really clean run. There's not much left, so I don't want to mess up and throw away the pace I'm on. Gonna do one last little small time save by, instead of going out and around this room, we're just gonna jump over here on these pipes. Up a little bit higher, and then we can dash jump up here. Very, very, very small time saver, but we'll take what we can get. And a little lost. Boost around to this possession. Just gotta wait for these platforms to come out. Boost around here. A little bit of an unfortunate time loss because I go into this, but it doesn't reset my double jump, so I go to boost there and the double jump just doesn't come out for whatever reason, so go back around. I make sure I land properly this time before going into the pad. Boost across. I go into a cutscene with Everett and Ryan. But instead of just kind of putting our player back to a set position, you return to where you just were when the cutscene took over, so we boost to where we need to go while that fades out. Grab the rail line, hop between these rails real quick, and we can see the giant boss chamber up above us, the big giant orb there. So very, very close to the end of the chapter. And then we can go to Chapter 6, which is essentially just the boss fight. There's not any platforming or small arenas you need to do there. So one more trip through platforms with the Widow. Do get really lucky on this platform being on a good cycle. Don't have to wait too long there. Depossess it, and we're into the boss chamber. So navigating through here, identical to the ones in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3.
Hey, Lynn, are you there?
This time it's red though. Super scary.
Don't worry, Aylin. I'll take care of it.
I'd hoped it wouldn't come to this.
So Manny's actually one of the gods of the Abyss. So he's a big, bad, scary guy. He's actually a really cool boss fight, probably my favorite in the game. Can be very challenging on the higher difficulties. But for us, not the scariest thing in the world. Especially you're going to open up with the Atom Splitter on him. Don't really need the Atom Splitter between waves, so I just use it off cooldown. It's a boss fight, so we just need to get him down to 75% HP before he does his first kind of mechanic. His attacks will mainly consist of these lasers firing out stacks of 3 or 4, and he'll have just like a beam he shoots out as well. You're supposed to use grapple to get over the lasers, but we can kind of just double jump and touch our toes on the last one. So basic minions. Get them out of the way. Get health if we need to. Back into phase 2. Mechanics are the exact same. Watch out for lasers, watch out for the beams. Use the bubble just to not have to worry about getting any health. Really using my rifle and the shotgun off cooldown. Atom Splitter is pretty much once per phase, just per quarter health. So stack up the glory kills here, pop all of those. One guy survives, not a big deal. Boss is halfway done. Rinse and repeat. Just trying to jump over the lasers as they come in. And this is something you'll notice with the final boss of the game, but it also kind of plays a part here. Typically when I'm doing these boss fights, I'm watching more of the cooldown of the weapons in the bottom left than I am actually looking at the boss and the projectiles he's sending my way. I'm just looking at him through my peripheral vision. So every now and then I will just kind of take a big string of hits because I'm more worried about the damage output than survivability. Why it's nice to have this bubble shield on occasion. Final stretch of health. Get him down. Very cinematic grapple over here. Right over the spawn, so I'm just making sure I'm on the opposite side of where we spawned in the arena. Looking for that orb to appear. Now we're actually gonna have a little chat with Manny. We have a big reduction in our prison sentence. Still 7,600 days left to go, but sure we'll be out in no time.
I said when you go.
And he's got a pretty sick design, very eldritch horror in nature. He's got tentacles and horns and all that fun stuff.
No.
But in speedrunner fashion, we're just gonna mash through all of this dialogue, get pulled back out of the abyss, back to the prison cell for one last nap
You look tired. I killed.
before we go and tackle the finale
Time
of the
for
game.
bed, Fox? Sleep sounds.
One last time of taking an extra day off the counter. Still being sure not to click on going to the library or repeating dialogue with Aelin here.
It's time to go. Where are you sending me?
Would you like to connect to the...
I'm ready.
Going back to King's Reach yet again. Going to go all the way back to the train station. But we get interrupted by Orion.
I'm
Gonna seek vengeance for Everett there.
I'm so sorry.
Now we're gonna go talk to Ellie, and she's gonna take us towards the final boss. Which actually brings us back to kind of the start of the game, going to the heart of the abyss where we met Urian for the first time.
You do talk to
Game's coming full circle.
Ellie, but
Before we actually go and deal with the final boss, we're gonna run over here and get the last upgrade, which is the upgrade for the Atom Splitter. Which makes it do more damage and a
The central steps lie just beyond this point.
slightly shorter cooldown.
So loud. I've never felt interference like that.
So once we enter this area, we're just kind of on a timer. It's going to pull us back to a certain spot anyway, so we can kind of just have some fun. Get up here, draw a smiley face. And once we mash past this dialogue, we are in the final section of the game. We have to run up to the boss, start it, and get the boss down. After that, time's pretty much directly afterwards.
I've done everything you asked of me! Indulged every last whim!
Here we go, we're gonna go meet up with Atticus, chilling on the beach. And now we have some Hands of the Abyss to take out, so we're just going to watch out for these blue orbs. The blue orbs are the scary ones. There are some lasers later on that you'll see me take a massive hit from. These general just like throwing orbs at us is not terribly scary. Very easy to dodge. If you get hit with one bullet, it's not bad. You just want to avoid the massive blue attacks because send out opponents at you at once.
I won't let you take
First two hands done, we get a spawn of minions. So we use the Atom Splitter here. An additional spawn of this one blue shield guy. Now we have two hands to deal with at the same time. Crazy. I mean wild, sorry. I tried my best. So yeah, these purple lasers actually do quite a bit of damage. So my health kind of got nuked down there. Big hit there. Very close to death. And this is where I kind of realized that I need to actually watch the boss a little bit more than just the cooldowns of my weapon. We get a little bit of health regen, up to 2 bars. I know I can get health here pretty easily. That's what these waves are for in the first place. There's just a couple enemies to get back up to full health. Break the shields. Use the Atom Splitter on the rest. They don't get completely destroyed, which, you know, they teleported, so they didn't get hit at all. Finish them off traditional fashion. Halfway through the boss, another half to go. Watch out for the lasers. That one's not super scary, it's the purple ones you gotta watch out for.
Damn you!
Another big burst of the atom splitter. Another fun hand to deal with here. Some blue orbs come our way, but they don't actually hit us for too much, and the boss has very little health, so we're just not focused on that at all. Boss goes down, we're waiting for the red orb to spawn in. And we just need to mash through some dialogue before getting into the final cutscene of the game, which is where time will officially stop. And we'll have beaten the game. I'll let the cutscene play out though, just get to those credits. Make sure we actually beat the game, it doesn't soft lock or anything wild like that. One last visit. Talking to some NPCs here. For whatever reason, going to this one, it loves to make me alt-tab, so my spamming tends to slow down. I can't spam through here so much. You can see my cursor pop up for a second.
You failed.
You
I'm just trying my best to get through here.
Aelin?
You did wonderfully, Fox.
What do you mean?
It's all right.
And with that dialogue out of the way, we get into the final cutscene, and time stops there at 1:35:49. Pretty happy with this overall. Definitely not a perfect run. Could clean it up. Would probably see a sub 135. It's a possibility. But I think unless there's some more skips, this will be my PB for quite a while. Especially with the City of Greymont skip being first try. That is not an easy thing to do, and each of those attempts is about 40-45 seconds, so you can definitely lose a lot of time going for that skip. But who knows? You know, yesterday we had a 146, today a 135. Some more stuff's found. Who knows how low the time can go? As I mentioned before, if this is a game that you're interested in speedrunning or wanting to just glitch hunt for it, there's a community Discord I will leave down in the description. But I'll also leave links to all of my other social medias if you want to come watch these runs live. I do stream these over on twitch.tv/BloodThunder. As you may have guessed, it is my username.
Aelin!
Tend to stream every night, 8 p.m. Eastern start time. Do a lot of games like this. More recently running Mouse PI for Hire, which we have some commentated videos on that on the channel as well, if you're new around here. But yeah, if you want to see how these glitches are found, or just come hang out for a night, watch some speedruns, watch some attempts, join us over there. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. We might see you for some more Luna Abyss videos in the future. Maybe some other speedruns. Be sure to like the video so I know to keep grinding away at this kind of stuff. Subscribe for more. All of that good YouTube stuff. I'll leave you with the outro.
Here I am, Mother. I finally come home. It is complete.